Welcome to United Jews channel.
I'm Ari S, and this is Andrew Kirshner,
I already gave you.
and
We
today
can
we'll
move on to abortion now if you want to.
pro-choice.
Yeah. Pro-life. I don't see why killing a baby is good, if that makes sense. The only time I think abortion is okay is if it will hurt the mother.
Okay. Well, I would agree with your point. If killing a baby is wrong, uh, my kind of only confused part is abortion isn't killing a baby; it's killing a cluster of cells that before within the first 3-month period wasn't even. It's not a person.
But
And if you bring up points like, let's say a woman was raped and she doesn't want to have her rapist child, is it bad for her to go the day after or whenever she is like initially to do like a plan since she want to have a rapist child?
well, the rapist child is obviously she might not want that, but I still don't see how it's okay to kill a baby. You said it was a cluster of cells. It's not. The baby, from the moment of conception, the baby has its own DNA code. Within a couple months, it has possibly different blood than the mother. The baby has fingers, toes, as a developing brain. I don't see why allowing that to happen. And one thing I want to bring up right away is, do you think abortion is okay up until 9 months? It's always okay.
No, I think there's there's a legal cutoff at the first trimester, before the first trimester, that states that you could have an abortion legally. After the first trimester, you cannot have an abortion because that baby has already developed heartbeat and all of that. And at that point, it does become a baby, but beforehand, it's just a cluster.
But the thing is that it's not. The baby develops up until the first trimester just as much as it develops in the second and the third. The
Well,
developing.
yeah, it develops throughout the entire 9 months, but it's the point that it's developed to that's different between the first, second, and third trimester. In the second trimester, if anything goes wrong with the woman, like let's say she's having a baby, she wants the baby. If something goes wrong, the doctors could potentially do a C-section, save the baby, whatever, and have the baby several months earlier than its due date. None of that could happen during the first trimester. Because if someone were to give a woman a C-section in the first 2 months of her pregnancy, first week of her pregnancy, you are not going to see a resemblance of a baby.
Right, but the difference between a C-section is that a C-section, uh, the baby comes out alive. With an abortion, there is no more baby. If you look at how the abortion process works, they take away a baby's parts, part by part. Like there's a foot, an arm, a leg, a head. They still have every single body part that a human has. And I think that when just by looking at those parts, you can't say that that's not a baby. That is a human being. They have their own DNA. They have their own body parts. They are their own human being. They're not just a cluster of cells. A cluster of cells implies that they're just this little being that just is this big, but they have every single that they're developing every single thing that humans that are in the world have.
I would disagree. That's the whole point of like the legal cutoff. A bunch of scientists, doctors, whatever, they have a specific deadline of 24 weeks, whatever, not 24 weeks. They have a specific cutoff, like 4 to 6 week period, 3 month first trimester period of when you could get the cutoff for whether you could have an abortion legally or not. In some cases, maybe the cases that you've looked at, the abortion happened after the first trimester, which I do not support, because at that point, inside the mom, it is a baby, an actual baby. But let's say, like, do you support women taking Plan Bs, like the day after pill?
That's a
Because
very
it's after conception, and you brought up how,
right.
yeah,
I get this point. So the thing with Plan B is that it happens after conception. If there was a way like birth
yes.
control, because that happens before, I'm okay with birth control. But if Plan B kills the baby after, I don't think that's okay. It's basically an abortion, just a pill version that happens the morning after. See, like when you the first trimester, the baby still has a developmental process. They still have a heartbeat. They still have all these things that humans today have. If you stop the heart of a person, that's murder. That's just how I see it.
I mean, first day after conception, there is no heartbeat, there is no brain, there are no body parts. It's like a bunch of cells dividing that are this big. I think it's up to the mom to decide whether or not she wants to have it, especially if it's like a rapist's baby.
Right. Well, it's the morning after. It's not just nothing. From the moment that the sperm captures an egg, there is immediately a process of development of DNA, creating a unique genetic code for a human being, and that process happens right at the process of conception. So anytime after that, it will still technically be murder. It's the same way when you take a pill to stop your heart. One thing I want to say is, because I am pro-life, I'm against the death penalty, so I don't think it's ever okay to kill a human being. And I just wanted to say that.
Okay. I am also against the death penalty. And this is off topic, but do you think that, let's say, a serial killer kills 10, 20 people, whatever, do you think putting him to death is worse, or putting him like in jail is worse, like solitary confinement? Which one do you think is the worst punishment?
Death penalty is way worse. Killing a human being is the worst crime that we can commit. Regardless of the crimes they commit, you put them in the jail, put them away for life. In those severe cases, I do think we need prison reform. It shouldn't just serve as punishment. It should serve as rehabilitation to put people back into society. And but that starts with the culture we have in America. Prevent people from going to prison in the first place.
Yeah. Going back to abortion. So after conception, Plan B, it's a zygote. It's basically what it is. A clump of cells, a zygote. Then it becomes an embryo, and then it eventually, after the first trimester, grows into like a baby, a kid. I feel like it's mom's rights over an embryo's rights. I feel like, especially if the woman's at risk of losing her life, which you have mentioned, Dan, I do agree that abortion is necessary there. My argument is that it's not a baby, it's not a child. And if the woman doesn't want to bring up a baby at 15 years old, if she got pregnant at 15, 14, 13, right when her period started, it's her right to get rid of it. It's not a baby, it's not living, it's not breathing, especially within the first couple of weeks. It's not living. And if the mom at 15 or at whatever age were to go through a pregnancy where her family, let's say, disowns her and the baby is born into a shitty environment and the mom cannot provide for her baby, it's up to the mom to decide whether she's ready to have a baby or not. She's a woman, even if it's like the option of giving it to adoption. I'm pro-choice.
Well, I think what you're bringing up is very extreme circumstances. That's not what a majority of abortions are. And as far as having a baby, if they can't.
Can you explain to me what majority of abortions are, like, and what circumstances do they happen? Since it's like not the case that I've read of.
The only case is if it affects the mother. If the mother's gonna die, don't obviously have the abortion. But or if the mother's gonna be disabled or something happens to the mother, obviously have the abortion. I don't think you should have an abortion just because your child is gonna. You don't want a child. And what you said with having pro-choice, it is the woman does have choices. She has the choices in almost everything in her life, but it's the government's job to preserve life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And life is a baby is life, so we need to prevent the killing.
A baby is life, but an embryo is not.
Right, but the embryo will then become a baby. It will form into a baby.
Well, that's just like That's just like I could use that argument and say like when you like sperm, it has the potential to become a baby, so you best preserve
before the fertilization process. That's before conception. That's before
that's just going off how you worded it. You said it has the potential and sperm has the potential.
Right, but the sperm does not yet conceive with an egg. At that point, when it conceives with an egg, because people want babies. What we're talking about is the unwanting of children. If you don't want children, okay, you can put them up for adoption. We want better opportunities to adopt your children. If you say the mother can't provide for her child, that's what I want, to put the baby up for adoption so the baby can have the best life possible.
Yeah, I think it should. Okay, what's your opinion on this? Should the government enforce laws making it illegal to have an abortion?
No. Abortion should still take place if it affects the mother. They're not going to get rid of all abortion doctors. There should be.
Well, yeah, like should the government have the power to control women's bodies in the sense of like telling them what to do because it's set with their beliefs? Or should women have the choice to kind of dictate their own bodies and not have the government tell them what to do with themselves?
Right, but the government is there to preserve life, so they need to take action. I fully support defunding Planned Parenthood. That gives abortions out up to 9 months. That still does happen. It's not federal law. They're fighting against that, and I disagree with what they're trying to do. I think up to the first.
I just don't think that a bunch of like old people in government should have a say on whether or not a woman should go with an abortion within the legal time. when it is not a living, breathing,
Right, but it's not a living, breathing thing at 9 months, by your logic.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
It's not a living, breathing person at 9 months. It's not into the world
9 months before birth.
at the, but yeah, right before birth.
Well, at that point, it already has like a heartbeat and everything. So at that point, it would be a murder of a baby.
It develops a heartbeat in the first trimester, though.
No.
Yeah, you're not gonna have a heartbeat. The process of a baby being formed includes how you are, how I am. We have our own genetics, our own DNA, and that process happens right at conception, and that's why I think I'm
I mean,
pro-life.
okay, zygote does not have a heartbeat. Like in the beginning, in the first few weeks of conception, the baby is not living. And I think the whole concept of pro-choice is that you do have the choice at whatever age you are or whatever status or whatever socioeconomic status you are at, you have the choice to say that you want or do not want to have the baby. You could be pro-life, have the baby, but like the whole thing is it's your choice. It shouldn't be mandated by the government. If you're pro-life, have the baby. If you're pro-choice, choose not to or choose to. But I feel like it should not be, I don't think it should be a law where the government dictates what you get to do with your body.
Right, but it is government mandated if you're saying that it should be cut off at the first trimester. And the idea of pro-choice is not it should be cut off at the first trimester. The idea of pro-choice is that until any point from conception to the baby being born, it's okay to have an abortion. That's the
That's
idea of
not
pro-choice.
true.
That's what Planned Parenthood does. They allow 9-month abortions. It still happens all across the country. People still have 9-month abortions. I'm glad we agree that it shouldn't happen for the third and second trimester, but I still think it shouldn't happen for the first trimester.
And I'm not sure how true that is, but I'll go with it. Like Planned Parenthood is going past the recommended date of the first trimester. I completely disagree with that because at that point the baby is a baby. It's developed enough to be considered as such. But before the first trimester, and okay, look, even if I disagree with babies not being like taken out second or third trimester, well, actually, not even. I don't think that the government has the right to tell a person what to do with their bodies. I just don't think a group of people have the right to tell me, you, whatever, abortion or not abortion, outside of abortions, to tell you what you can and cannot do with your body.
Right, but that's exactly what you're doing. You're telling women they can't have abortions up to the for the second trimester and third trimester. That's what the government is doing. With what you agree with.
Because at that point, it becomes not just you as a person making the decision, it becomes you and your baby. At that point, it's two people, not just one person. And again, government, like you said, government protects life, but it's not a full baby. Scientifically, it's not a full baby until it passes the first trimester. So that's why there's like a scientific cutoff for when you can and cannot have an abortion.
Right, but the scientific cutoff would, by definition, be at conception because at that point the developmental process begins. That's the science behind how a baby is formed. If you look at science, abortion should not be allowed at any instance unless it is affecting the mother because the science behind that states that she can die if she has that baby.
Yeah.
So from the scientific standpoint, uh, from conception, abortion should not be allowed.
I think most of the people who are pro-life have some sort of religious affiliation for the most part, and they use religion as their guide to whether or not someone could have an abortion. While many people who are pro-choice look at science and they've realized that a baby is not a baby until it has passed the first trimester. It's not living. It's not a baby.
Right. Okay. Well, for the closing statement, I want to say I still don't think abortion is okay unless it affects the mother. I think the life begins at the point of conception. I think that pro-life, while many people do have a religious affiliation, that still doesn't take away from the scientific standpoint that the developmental process begins at conception. And I think that abortion is murder any time after conception, unless it affects the mother. I have to repeat that over and over again so you don't get that confused. And yeah, that's my final standpoint.
Yeah. My final statement is that it's completely the mother's choice on whether or not she wants to have the baby or not. I believe that a legal abortion should be made before the first trimester, not after. I do not think that it should be federally or even state mandated for a government to say, for a government to have control over a woman's body. They do not have the authority for that. I believe that it becomes an actual baby after the first trimester, and I ultimately believe that it should be the mother's choice, even if, never mind, I think it should be the mother's choice.
Right, well, I'm trying to show
Sorry?
I'm trying to show like the hypocrisy in that statement by saying the government shouldn't be there to say what you should do with your body, and you're telling the mother she can't have the abortion with the second trimester and the third trimester. That's I find that to be very hypocritical to say. I think that the government is there to keep preserve life.
Let me clarify. I personally, as a female, would if I were a female, I would not have an abortion after the second or third trimester because it is scientifically shown that then it becomes like a baby with like completely with organs, everything. I personally would not, but I believe that it is completely the mother's choice on whether or not she wants to do that. I believe that it's not, I don't have the authority either to tell a woman whether or not she should have an abortion when she chooses. I have my beliefs, I have my recommendations that it should be before the first trimester. But again, I'm not by no means saying that I'm not saying that I have the authority to tell a woman what to do with her body either.
Final solutions. If I had the power, I would make abortions illegal, and contraceptives such as Plan B. Also, I would remove and defund Planned Parenthood as much as I could because they're providing late-term abortions.
Okay, wait, hold on. As far as Planned Parenthood, abortions are not all they're doing. They also help people get treated for like STIs, STDs, a bunch of other things, advice on once you've already had your baby. They tell you like help settle, they provide you with resources that you can go to. So it's not all of Planned Parenthood isn't just abortions. Just wanted to make that clear. But,
Right, I recognize that. That's why I'm not getting rid of it. I just want to defund it because they're the number one source of abortions. And if people are having abortions, I don't support that. And that's why I support defunding Planned Parenthood. I know that's not all they do. I know they help people in other ways. And that's why I don't want to remove it permanently. I should have made that clear.
Okay. My solution would be focus on your own body. That's it. Just focus on your own body. If you are pro-life, have the baby. Do what you believe is right, whether it's God's eyes or you think it's scientifically like a baby after conception. That is your right. That is your belief. And you could keep believing that. Just don't try to force your beliefs onto other people. That's it.
All right. Well, thank you for doing this. It was very fun.
I had a very good time.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It was very interesting. This is actually like my first formal debate, so glad to have some experience in it. And with that, thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you.